the number one standout. Okay.
Yep.
The real estate industry is saddled with untrained, unethical, and or incompetent agents. This is Byron Lazine and Nicole White, and you are tuned into episode 340 of The Real Word.
Word is up.
You're up back in Connecticut. You left me behind here in Las Vegas. I've been
I'm
here since
sorry. I
BAM
needed to get to
Mania.
bed, dude. I didn't sleep, I swear,
You
for
haven't
those
slept since
4.
last week?
No, I mean, I slept now, but
Yeah,
I couldn't get to my bed and my pillow fast enough.
I'm sure. What was your, before we get into this, we've got basically one of my predictions have come through with a broker filing a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against NAR. We'll break
Yep.
that down and why there's going to be much more
More?
coming unless NAR does something specific.
Right.
Um, how NAR's leverage is basically waning, and what the danger report said in it just in 2015, just basically 10 years ago. Some of those predictions that came true, and we're also going to react to a little bit of Rob Hans, the Notorious ROB panel fireside chat, rather, that I had with him at BAM Mania, because it really covers a lot of this topic and this breaking story about the broker
Yep.
filing the lawsuit against NAR. But Nicole, before we get into all of that,
Uh-oh.
you came out, you
I
were
did.
hanging. A lot of
Yeah.
people were really happy to see you. I'm
I
still
was
in Vegas because
I was happy to see them.
about to do a talk today for at Real Rise, and
Yeah.
even here, people are like, "Where's Nicole?" I'm like, "She was at
Oh.
Mania last week. Like, she can't be here for a whole week." But what were your takeaways from being there and getting to meet a bunch of people?
Well, so what I really enjoy about them, because again, I've been to other conferences,
Of course.
whether they're like Tom Ferry's or we did that Agent 2021. What I loved the most about it was like how intimate it was. It was like almost like the truest of true people that like again are like avid listeners. They believe in the industry as a whole, and obviously want to continue to make it better. But it was literally just like like you follow all these people on Instagram and Facebook, and they follow you, and it's like you're finally getting to like when I met like Rob, it was like hugging an old friend, but it was like the first time I'd ever met him. So I enjoyed it. I really felt like it was like a nice cohesive group of individuals that were very like-minded, even though we're from very different markets and like cities and small towns. And I feel like there was like this underlying like respect throughout the whole thing that like made it really comfortable and enjoyable.
Yeah, I think there's a common theme going on in the industry
Yep.
that we can't have what happened back in 2015 when we saw the warning signs of that danger report, which I'll mention a little bit later in the pod, ignore them and then get to this place. Like, we have to take this moment that's happening to really change and shape the industry, be those agents of change. Well, there's one broker, Nicole,
Yep.
who is trying to change his current situation and that of his agents. And that's why a Pennsylvania broker has decided to sue the National Association of Realtors. Broker has filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit over forced NAR membership, also referred to as the tie-in agreement. Okay, Pennsylvania real estate broker is suing not only the NAR, but the state realtor association that he is a part of with his brokerage, as well as the local MLS, for a total of $5.6 million for the requirement that he become a realtor in order to access the
He must have
MLS.
been
Why
listening
are
to our podcast. He must have heard it and even like, that's a good
Listen,
idea.
he didn't get this idea from us. This is like, listen, we are not guilty here. NAR, don't sue me, bro. Listen, NAR is not gonna have time to do that. They're gonna have so many
No,
lawsuits coming
no.
up here, and it'll be interesting. I'll so first, why are all three being sued? If it's not happening in your state, you're new to the concept. I'll just break it down. The tie-in agreement is when you go and get your license as a state, and this is what's happening here in Pennsylvania for this particular broker, is that when, hey, I'm getting my real estate license, I obviously need the MLS. The MLS is an important component to how I'm doing my business, although Notorious ROB thinks it's not. We'll tell you why in a second. But hey, the MLS is important. I need the access to the MLS so I can do business. Um, then it's like, okay, well, if you want the MLS, you have to be part of the state realtor board, the local
Right.
association. Okay, I got to get and then when you get to the local association, it's like, oh, wait, in order to have us, you have to have NAR. So it's like you
Right.
can't have one without the other. It's like if you, I don't know, what would be an example, Nicole, of it? I mean, there's not many examples because
There
tie-in
really aren't many
agreements
examples,
are
no.
are basically illegal. Um, it's kind of been challenged in the past and remains, to be what it is right now. That might change. But Maurice Muhammad, who's the broker record for Progressive Realty in Allentown, Pennsylvania, is the one that filed the lawsuit. Violations of federal civil rights statutes, unlawful discriminatory practices, violations of federal antitrust laws, breach of contract, and for creating a monopolistic system that imposes this forced membership. So he is representing himself in the U.S. District Court for Eastern Pennsylvania. That's how he filed the suit, pro se, which is interesting. He's going to represent himself. I don't know. It doesn't say in the Inman piece whether Mr. Muhammad is a attorney. We'll see how that goes. I don't I don't know that it even matters because NAR is going to have to make a decision on this. I
Right.
think where this is going is they're going to have to take a position. Okay, just like there are brokers right now saying, "Hey, don't do broker compensation, don't
Right.
offer it out. It's going to go away." They're taking their position in the belief that there's going to be a lot of litigation, DOJ change, whatever it may be around that topic. And they're making their stance, their position, their business plan now on that. You've seen many brokers come out. About 30% of the market has gone that direction. 70% is still doing broker compensation from the sell side to the buy side. Just
Yep.
we're in the messy middle, and maybe that number does change. Notorious ROB has a prediction on it. We can mention, but I think NAR is going to have to take their position on this because there's just no whether this isn't a one-off lawsuit. This $5.6 million lawsuit from Progressive, and I don't have Progressive Realty's numbers in here. I don't know how big they are in Allentown or how much market share they have in Pennsylvania. There are monster brokerages that everybody knows the name of that are behind the scenes right now planning similar lawsuits against NAR. Okay,
Right.
so these aren't just conversations; these are happening behind the scenes, and NAR knows this. It's not like I'm like saying something just because
Spilling
it's
the
not
beans.
public right now. Yeah, doesn't mean they don't know that it's coming. And so, knowing that there's going to be a wave of lawsuits, essentially from your own members, it would be smart for NAR to say, "Oh, let's go out ahead of this and address it." Now, they're gonna lose some leverage if they do that, right? It's
Right.
natural that you're gonna see some churn when you say, okay, we can't force the three memberships, MLS, local, and NAR. You will see churn, and so that's probably why it hasn't happened yet. But uh, my thoughts is um, they're going to have to address this sooner than later. Defendants require real estate professionals to join NAR, PAR, and this GLV MLS to conduct business, even though many minority members receive little to no benefit from membership and face discrimination within these organizations. So this one happens to have a discriminatory aspect to it. Um, and, obviously these are allegations, but if that were to hold up, this could be even more powerful than just your standard, hey, I don't like the tie-in agreement. It's monopolistic. They've limited competition, inflated prices, prevented the emergence of alternative MLS providers, all to the detriment of both professionals and consumers. So in the notorious ROB fireside, that we did at Mania. And there's an article on nowbam.com breaking down mine and Rob's conversation. Nicole was supposed to be part of that conversation. Then she bailed on us last minute and decided to stay at the
That's
BAMX
first
booth.
of all, that's a lie. That's the biggest lie. You had me selling like, swinging shirts in the hallway. You kidding
BAMX
me?
memberships. Get your BAMX membership. Use code REALWORD. By the way, BAMX membership is coming with a full platform. Comes right now with a full platform to Zudelio to help you get more listings.
Yes.
bring
I thought that
iBuyers
was great.
to your sellers so that you actually get compensated and them selling instead of them selling direct to an iBuyer and you getting cut out. Like there's so much going on and all the data that's going on in Zoodalia, all that kind of stuff is amazing. So you should check that out. But anyways, Rob says Rob made the case that he thinks agents don't need the MLS at all. He's like, why do you need the MLS? And it's really ease of being able to pull that data, I think, is because here's the thing MLS handled compensation. Now that doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
Right. So then from there, an agent say, well, my listing gets disseminated. You can get syndication outside of the MLS. Okay. To the portals. You can certainly do manual, syndication as well, which is going to be laborious, but you can syndicate outside of the MLS into these IDX feeds. So then it's going to be like, well, I've got my showing time set up and all of that. Well, you can obviously purchase showing time. So you could start to build your own kind of tech stack. What you're really
Right.
going to miss from day one is having that historical data. Because you know what, as good as on the macro, like a Redfin or Realtor.com for sure, love Realtor.com's analytics and stats. There's nothing like having your local data in the MLS.
No,
It's
I
not
feel
going to
like
be as
whenever I'm
easy.
bored, I just look, you know?
Yeah, I mean, but you can pull stuff. You could use,
No, but I
th-
mean even just, like, old photos or, like, old
right.
write-ups or like, I just look at all of it, like, the progression of photo like, I'm weird, though. I also, like, clearly need a hobby.
No, but I mean, to your point, going back and educating a seller, like going through old photos and educating them on all of that and having that ease of the data in one place, it's going to be very valuable for most agents. But his point is like he's making the bigger point that like, what leverage he's questioning the leverage of everything, right? And
Right,
currently losing their leverage, but what leverage does the MLS have? I think MLS has way more power than anybody, right now, because I just don't see agents wanting to. And my, analogy was like, I don't see agents duct taping it together, like building their own basically tech stack, if you will, to be
right,
able to list properties and then do the showings. And what he's saying is true, but it
right,
becomes really difficult for the average agent to figure that out. So, what ultimately happens with MLS is, he thinks just further consolidation. He thinks there'll be a couple major ones. There's some problems with that. You've got over 500 MLSs. That is down from 600 something, just a number of years ago. But you have these small MLSs that might not make a lot of sense to consolidate into a bigger MLS. So, um, Nicole, you probably want your MLS experience or your listing experience to be easier, not clunkier in the near
for
future,
sure.
right? So, I think you and I both agree MLSs are going to continue to have, no matter what happens to local board and to NAR, continue certainly in the short term to have a
Relevance.
high subscriber
Oh, for
count.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, of
All right.
course.
So, um, so there you go on that. Now we're gonna go back to some of the stuff that Rob said on stage. I do want to mention because it's in the news on realestatenews.com. Kind of recapping a decade ago, um, this danger report that Swanepoel put out. It was a real warning to the industry. Um, it was it had listed the 50 biggest threats facing the residential real estate industry. It was published. NAR asked for this report, and it was published to the public. And there was a lot of bad stuff in there, so it was kind of like a transparent thing to do. Stefan Swanepoel wrote the report, and he based it on 70 executive interviews and a survey of nearly 8,000 realtors, which is just so much data. And listen, I
So
know
much.
what Stefan does when he interviews those 70 executives. It's not like, hey, can we jump on a call for 15 minutes? This is like 2-3 hours of deep conversation. So he spends so much time going into this. I know this because there is a sequel to the report coming very soon. I'm not breaking that story. Real Estate News wrote about it, so I wouldn't ever say that before they said it. I was able to be a part of this new one, so I think it's probably the same thing about 70, um, whatever. A lot of broker owners, all the names you would
So you
know,
sat and you chatted with
and
him for 3 hours? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, it was
Okay,
like about 2.5 hours, and he goes deep on it, and so basically, like the industry kind of ignored the warnings from 10 years ago. Hopefully, this one's gonna be called, by the way, the Opportunity Report, a little bit of better brand name than
okay,
the Danger Report. Do you like that, Nicole? The
good.
Opportunity?
Well, I mean, let's get a little I was just telling you guys I watched that movie Unhinged. I mean, I feel like I could use, like, a unicorn or a rainbow or, like, a sunshine or something. Yes, I appreciate the positivity.
And yes, it is because I do believe that there is this moment right now, where agents of change can grab the opportunity and really shape whatever career they want that
Yeah.
keeps, clients' interest,
Well, and I think that
front
that's
and
essentially
center.
what Rob was saying too, when you don't necessarily need the MLS. I think that that's what he was trying to sort of get across
Well,
too,
yeah,
like,
and I appreciate what Rob is saying because it's like, listen,
you've got
everything
the
you
community.
know in this business right now, you can question.
Right.
Like everything, I mean, one of the things I said on stage is like, guys, we have now realized, I mean, these buyer agreements that we're signing are cancelable
Crap.
at any time in writing. You can just cancel them
Right.
with written notice. So like everything that you do outside of really earning a client's trust is irrelevant.
Right.
Buyer contracts, even though we need to have them signed, if they can be canceled at any time, they're irrelevant. List prices on home. Oh, those are irrelevant because you negotiate price. Saying a home is listed as is means nothing. How many times have you
Nothing.
done an inspection and gotten
Yeah.
$10,000 for the roof?
Right.
The compensation offer is irrelevant. You're going to put whatever you want into the offer
Right.
and negotiate it from there. Everything is basically just a marketing pitch. So everything in
Right.
this industry at this point should be just because we've done it this way for so long doesn't mean that you do it that way going forward. And that type of mindset of like, wow, everything is so fluid and you really got to know your stuff to be able to negotiate this highlights the agents who are super knowledgeable, who are super prepared for this moment. Because 10 years ago in the Danger Report, the number one thing that stood out was the industry. Here's what the emerged as the number one standout. Okay.
Yep.
The real estate industry is saddled with untrained, unethical, and or incompetent agents. The knowledge gap threatens the credibility of the industry. Nobody addressed that. So this danger report NAR had for 10 years. They didn't address the fact that a vast majority of members could fit into this bucket. Like, remember, half of the agents on the MLS do zero transactions. So, not saying they're unethical,
Yeah.
but certainly untrained, or at the very least, you could say if the goal for the majority of those agents that did zero transactions, if the goal was to sell a lot of homes, sometimes people have a license for different reasons. But if the goal was to sell a lot of homes and they sold 0, you can't deny that that is incompetence. Like, so at least, at the very least, you can check off incompetence, and maybe they're in the wrong environment where they're not getting the training, the support, the leads, all that kind of stuff, right? You dig deeper on everybody's situation. But the knowledge gap threatening the credibility of the industry is absolutely true. If we don't address that right now, as well as how does the MLS fit into, knowledgeable agents? Maybe agents that have the knowledge would pay a little bit more for the right MLS, NAR, local board structure. If we don't start addressing that stuff right now, then we're going to be in the same place in five,
Right.
10 years, right? Where you look back on this opportunity, it's like, man, we really missed it, and who gained from that? That
Right.
there's a lot of players that could be in position for that. Um, so there was little action, and I just when I see the lawsuit happening in Pennsylvania, when I see the discussion around, what leverage is left with some of these, there is a moment in time that we have to take this action. And if we let it go away, um, we will miss that opportunity. A couple of things here, Nicole. Let's just go to buyer on Rob's conversation, buyer compensation coming from the listing agent. Like, here's another thing that, right, like needs to be worked out. It's working its way through. Um, he believes by the end of quarter one, if right now 70%, give or take, of listing agents are offering compensation, he thinks that's going to be down to 10% by the end of quarter one.
Yeah.
Um, which, by the way, fine. It doesn't if right now you're in that practice, that's fine because you can just put it into the offer and negotiate it. Put everything your buyer needs in the offer and negotiate it from there. Obviously,
Right.
um, what do you think? Do you think it's going to happen that quickly?
It seems very quick. Seems very quick, but I also think that, um I think that as more, sellers, become informed of exactly what it all means, I think there could potentially be a lot more pressure on listing agents to attack it that way, right? Especially if the listing agents are knowing that these buyer agents are legitimately willing to sort of take kind of like whatever, because 'cause they're not always willing to sort of
Well,
fight for their value.
the good ones aren't. Yeah.
Right, exactly. There could, again, we're talking about overall, what,
Yeah.
the majority of the people are doing very few. Um, so I do think that there is an interesting opportunity here for the seller to potentially pay less. And I think that
Well,
they may be willing to
if,
do that.
for the right deal, any seller's willing to pay more. Just walk
Of
a seller
course.
through these couple
When
questions, like,
I
right, like,
agree. I agree.
hey,
I'm saying with when they're getting the information, that's immediately their first obviously knee jerk reaction is like, "Hey, like if I don't have to, let's see if they come in with anything." I mean, let's be honest, there's probably some agents right now that aren't getting paid at all because they haven't written it in or presented it in the offer and nothing's being offered. So, I don't know that it'll happen
yeah,
that
if you're
quickly, but I definitely think that as more people get educated on the process and what's going on, it's certainly going to be a conversation that listing agents are going to be having with their sellers. Absolutely.
yeah, and if your seller is like, "Hey, I'm not willing to offer compensation," first
Or
of all,
hey, I'm willing to offer it, but let's see what they're
well,
offering me.
some people are just like, "I'm not gonna offer compensation," and the way that is also just like saying, "Hey, the house is being sold as is." A seller
Yeah.
saying, "I'm not willing to offer compensation," is somebody saying, "I want the house sold as is," but then they get a great deal that's not as is, that works for them, they sell it anyway. And so it's like, "Okay, cool, you don't wanna offer compensation up front, wanna keep the, um, cards close to the vest." Obviously, I think that's a great strategy here for your situation, whatever the case may be. Um, but here's a couple scenarios I just want to point out. A seller comes to us, or a buyer comes to us rather, and says, I want to make you an over ask price offer. I'm working with my buyer agent. I'm going to include that into the negotiation here. But you're going to end up net out $10,000 even more than the list price. In that scenario, is that a deal that Mr. or Mrs. Seller that you would take? Well, yeah, we would love that deal. Okay, so you are willing to consider compensation as part of the structure of the deal, right? And that's a very easy hurdle to get over because as people look at the dollars, they become willing to do what's in their best interest, and that's how you should represent your clients, what's in their best interest. And I think where Rob is going, like from 70% to 10%, is yeah, it's probably in most sellers' best interest to just like, why would I put my cards on the table now when
Right.
everybody's going to be writing it into the offer and we can negotiate it from there. So just
Right.
like on the buy side, put it into the offer,
Right.
everything, negotiate it from there. The seller is going to look at one offer. Do I have one? Do I have two? Do I have three? Do I have none? And I need to maybe consider other options to generate offers, whatever the case may be. They're going to look at all those and negotiate from there. But it really comes down to, what are they getting? Are they getting their price terms and conditions on their timeline? And they're going to move forward based on that. So this stuff here, I'm like, I'm pretty much comfortable with, even though we're still in the middle, with where all this stuff is going, because those knowledgeable agents, the ones that are really comfortable negotiating and actually know what they're negotiating,
Right.
this is all fine. So the
Yeah.
only, like, to me, it's all the internal drama that needs to get worked out. Even the DOJ, I guess there could be some fear of what the DOJ is gonna do. We're not really gonna know until, yeah, I think the election's what, 2 weeks away at this point? I mean, that's kind of nothing's gonna happen here in the next 2 weeks with DOJ, I don't imagine. So we'll see what happens after November 5th there. But it's like, where does NAR fit in? Where does the MLS fit in? Where does your brokerage fit into that equation? Is there going to be, an association, a membership that, whether it's NAR reimagined or something else, that agents really um, value and want to be a part of? Or is everything going to go into everybody running opposite directions and kind of become a little bit more commercial brokeragey out there, commercial real estate, where it's the wild, wild west? But
Wild Wild West. It's the boys club. You'll be smoking even more cigars than you do now.
that sounds like a good thing. But a good old boys club and cliques and all of that does not sound like a good thing.
No.
It's one of the reasons that I think BAM is an important place in the industry to kind of break that stuff up, all those industry cliques and all of that. So, um, all right, Nicole, anything else for you?
No, I feel like I appreciated everyone that came up and said hello. That was fun.
That was amazing.
Um,
If you were at BAM Mania, let us know what your thoughts were down in the comments. There's a survey going out this week, Nicole.
oh, my number one request because we were sitting at the BMX table, the amount of individuals that Alan and I had to give our personal stash of pens to was quite a few. So maybe we
So
can provide
BAM
pens
Mania not
next time.
having a BAM Mania pen, we need to have pens next time.
Ideally, some
I mean, how
pens.
many
Yeah,
pens
because I
could you have gone through? I at least gave you 2 packs of gum.
you did give me a few packs of gum, which I don't still don't. Maybe I had bad breath. I don't know why I needed so much gum, but I did appreciate the gum. No, it
You
was
love
it.
gum.
People, I do love gum. Gum is my favorite. Yeah. So pens. I feel like pens was my number one. I also did, and again, I'd love to see if people like think that it's a hokey idea or not. But I was talking with Bobby because what I would love to across all BAM like channels. Like, I feel like we should every once in a while like drop a little something, maybe it's maybe it happens to be like your middle name or I don't know, something. And then at BAM Mania, it's like you ask the questions like, do you remember in episode 8, like kind of like a test at the end of the year, like, and then whoever actually is like listening and picking up on all those, because there's so many people that were like they
You think
picked
there
up on
should be a
things and like,
test at the end of the
no,
event?
not a test, but like kind of like a fun little like a scavenger hunt, but like with it, like, have they been listening and like what did they pick up on? Because there were so many people that were like asking questions about like where did the rackets come from, like were they're obviously in it and involved in it, and like I just thought it would
Hey,
be kind of an interesting little like,
well,
I don't
so
know,
many people call this podcast The Rackets
the
because, I mean,
rackets,
we're
yes.
300 whatever episodes in now, whatever I said at the beginning, 340, right? A
Well,
big part of it.
remember though, Byron, on Instagram it is called the rackets, it's not called the real
Yeah.
word.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, we don't post that one anymore. We just post the
No.
BAM one. But anyways, we would have segments around, like, is this a racket or
Well,
not,
everyone's
right?
like, "Where are the rackets?" I'm like, "They're everywhere." We would get them as gifts. People
Yeah.
would ship them to us. Like, we
So should
have
we bring the segment back where it's like, "Hey, is this a racket or not?" That was such a big part of the
maybe. I
show, and
mean,
and and,
good old
um
Nance. I mean, that's she went to the dentist, poor thing.
the poor thing is right. For those of you that have been following the real world a long time, should we make the rackets more really, what's interesting now is how all this is broken out. Like I was saying back then, like, everything in this industry is a complete
Everything's a
racket,
racket.
and now
Yeah,
everything has
is a
completely
racket. Yeah.
gone that direction.
Yes.
Anyways, what's not a racket, Nicole, is Reminder Media. They were at BAM Mania, and they're a big part of why the real word still exists today, their support. And, for those of you that got a chance to chat with Luke, was amazing, by the way, at
Yeah.
BAM Mania. But if you're interested, obviously, to connect with their team on what they're doing to help so many agents get connected with more clients, There's a link down below. So
Love it.
that's what's not a racket. But if you want us to do maybe like one topic a week, breaking story, and then biggest racket of the week, maybe we go back to something like that. I don't know. We might
But
have
maybe
to.
the topics are just rackets. Maybe, because it used to be just we
Well, that's
like
what it is. That's
it
what it's
wasn't
been.
really topic 1, it was called the first racket. Like, that's essentially what we're still doing. They're still all rackets.
I've got some thoughts. I've got some thoughts, Nicole, on how
You always
to.
have some thoughts. I can't wait to hear them.
Yeah. Remember
Yeah.
when we did the? Actually, I guess that might have been leading up to 2020. Remember when we did the?
Left, right, up and down, and take a backflip.
No, the left or right. It was like a political
You
topic
wanted to
each
make it
week.
political. I'm like, "We're not going political." You're like, "All right, we'll do left, right, up, down, bullshit," whatever it was.
A political segment every single week. How insane was that?
You've done some insane things, and I just sit here and smile.
Now might be a good by the way, I don't know if now would be a good time to roll that back out. People are like this might be people are very I don't know why people get so upset
People are
just talking about,
unhinged.
like, policies and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
It's kinda weird.
Well,
Look at
I
you're
guess
getting
that's
uncomfortable right now.
I
I
get
said
I
the
get
word
I
policies,
just I because I don't talk about it.
but
I
I
don't talk about
but
it.
people get nervous when somebody says, like, what's like
Well,
a
because
policy
I don't
that
know
you
who's
like,
sitting next to me that has a completely different opinion, and, like, a beautiful dinner could go, like, friggin' nosedive very quickly. So,
because you like a certain policy. It's so weird to me
I
that,
mean, it
that we're in
happens
this
at my own
place.
dinner table quite often, you know? It's just I think it's one thing if you're able to listen and understand, but unfortunately, that's not really always the situation. I think everyone is always looking to defend and argue. So I think it just depends on who you're with and like, and again, if you don't know someone well enough, you don't know how they're going to react. So
Yeah.
that's just the unfortunate part is just people's reactions to it all.
Oh,
So
the reactions of the yeah, I mean,
yeah.
we're just not at a place, I guess, where
And sometimes it just gets very
people can do
mean
that.
and again, I just tell everyone it's more reflective of who they are and not of you. So,
Yeah.
but
So I guess
anyway,
we won't bring that segment back.
I don't think we need to. I think we're good. I
No.
think we're great. Yeah.
Nope.
Nope.
All right, keep it real, guys. We'll see you next week. I can't wait to be not on the road next
I
week.
agree. Yeah. See you guys.
August 17th approaching, it is more important than ever for agents to keep their clients, not just for the transaction, but for life. So I believe so much in what Reminder Media is doing. They're creating content that allows you to stay in front of your sphere of influence, the clients that you've transacted with in the past, so that they think of you first when they have a referral, when they have another transaction. A lot of people send a just sold or a just closed realtor talk mail. Reminder Media supports agents like Nicole, my co-host on The Real Word, in building out an authentic magazine where you can advertise your own properties. Here's an example of our award-winning luxury new development that we have in Connecticut. Put it right on the back and put in a whole bunch of relevant information. You can build out the content inside of your magazine and send it to maybe people you're following up with to get a listing, or people who are in your database right now who know you but might just forget about you because you're mixing in with all the postcards from the other agents. Reminder Media keeps you top of mind with the people that you want as clients for life. That's why we believe in so much of how they're helping agents just like you stand out. Go to remindermedia.com/BAM sample. Remindermedia.com/BAM sample today to get your sample and start reminding your clients exactly who you are today. At BAMX, we listen to what real estate professionals want and need. That's why our platform is filled with sought-after courses, content, and tactical assets for your business. And that's why we launched BAMX in a box with templates and scripts done for you, delivered each Friday. The best part? It's not coming from panel pontificators who bought their followers and don't sell any real estate. It's coming from top agents, team leaders, and content creators in the industry. It's education that actually shows you how to do what you need in today's market. And now it includes editable templates and scripts so you can easily deliver that knowledge to your database. Every day, we continue to add more content into BAMX, into our private Facebook community, content that works, content that our members have exclusive access to daily. So do not wait any longer. Use code REALWORD and join the thousands of agents taking their business to the next level today. Code REALWORD for 10% off. I'll see you in BAMX.